Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Peter Kennedy, Kennedy's Garage, Portlaw. Why am I doing a video on this? We have a 2017 Ford Kuga 1.5 or 1.6 diesel. The actual CC I'm not too bothered about at this point in time, because what is our problem? Our problem is that intermittently the man has had a no start situation. So what he has done is get in and he would press his start button and the car would not start. And I think and believe from what he told me, it was intermittent rather than happening all the time. So I think he went to a local garage fitted a starter motor outside with a flip camera out, fitted a starter motor out underneath the bonnet, and after they fitted the starter motor, he kept the old one and the new one is in place right now, but it still intermittently won't start. His wife is getting fed up with it because the car doesn't start when she wants it to start, and yeah, he was miffed. The other garage that was working on it, I believe, had tried on a couple of occasions to resolve this, but didn't get to an answer or find the problem. I'm actually slightly smiling with this one because it's cool. He's an engineer, so he's no gobdaw. He has a bit of brain work. You know, he's not green, as we'll say. I don't know how this works. He knows a bit about him, and I'm going to show you what's making me smile on this thing. So I pulled the bonnet, or he pulled the bonnet, or whatever it was, and when I was out here I looked and I said, "Ooh, what's this?" So I was, "Jesus, what's that crack?" And he said, "Well, the only way I could start it was," he said, "to get into," this is the engineer chap, the owner, "the starter motor relay in here." And I ran the wires over then. And what? I said, "You put a switch internal in the car?" And he, yeah. So he ran the wires up along here, out around, down here, in through the door jamb, cross tie clipped or whatever they are, taped and stuff, up here and down here to a big switch. Okay, so he has a big, cool looking switch here that he got from somewhere. So what he was doing, and I believe he said to me, this is just his information, lumen compressor. It's just his information. You can see oil change required there. What do we have on it? 212,000 kilometers on it. If you turn on the ignition and leave it, I think he said you had to press this button within 3 seconds. This was his button, and does it? Nah, she started there, fine. Now, maybe that's the wrong information. Maybe if I pressed that, trying to start it, and it wouldn't start, then this thing would not work for him. And I'll show you where maybe I'll do that first, right? No, I'll show you where he actually hardwired in his button in a moment. He said he was aware of this fault that's in here. So we have powertrain control module P162F. Then we have 13-2F starter relay A circuit. And then down here we have a P162F 002F. Starter motor disabled, engine cranking time too long. Any of the rest of the stuff I'm not concerned about. Airbag deployment control, license plate, tire pressure sensor, lost communication with instrument cluster. Actually, there's an interesting one, because maybe, if I'm right, is the instrument cluster on the Fords tied into an immobilizer system? And if it lost communication with the communication with the instrument cluster, would it inhibit the start, you know, from the button? Tailgate, lift, boot, trunk, latch position, blah, blah, blah. Don't think I'm too worried about them. I'm assuming that he may have disconnected the battery, you know, on an occasion or two. But now the compressor's gone off. I'll now show you where he has. Let's try and find something. Has he it in here? I thought he has it in there. That's actually rubber grommet off the top of an alternator, I think. Isn't it the battery positive on the alternator? That's the actual starter motor relay that he has. And when we roll out here, he said in the owner's manual, that was where he found the starter motor relay. So it was quite easy to find, he said, from the owner's manual. I thought maybe he got auto data or some access to wiring diagrams, blah, blah. But I didn't know, he says, in the owner's manual, he could figure out this thing. So, in here, 4 terminals, a 4-terminal relay, and he has just bridged those 2 pins and is making those 2 pins, or joining those 2 pins in order to start it. So what that's saying to me from the get-go is that one of these terminals heads down to the starter motor, and the other is a power feed into that fuse box. And in theory, that's that pin and that pin, because I can see one of them is horizontal and one of them is vertical. So it's number 2 and 3 in this, and sometimes you get a breakdown of the circuitry on that. But that's the load side of our starter motor relay circuit. Okay, so that's the power feed in, the power feed out to the starter, and the other 2 on the side then are the control wires. Okay, so when we press the button in here, we should have a ground on one side, we should have a power on the other side, which will switch this relay on and join these 2 connections here, which in turn will start the car. Now, I don't know if the relay is good, I don't know if the relay is bad, I don't know what's happening in here at this point in time, but we better start our diagnosis and see where we're going. I'm going to clear faults, I'm going to reinstate our relay in situ. Maybe I should do a bit of testing of that relay first, maybe. And I'm probably going to say to myself in about 5 minutes time, I should have went in there to start with. But we're going to get in, we're going to clear faults, we'll see what happens. He must be able to do a bit of welding as well. A bit of a welding rod off a stick or an arc welder. I'm going to stall this car out. Right? And reflection. Stall the car out. We're going to we'll quick erase these faults, okay? Quick erase. So I'm going to start afresh and try and recreate the problem if at all possible. In the immediate, what's going away? Okay, so this starter motor disabled, cranking time too long. That interesting that it won't go away. I have seen these. I have had apprentices change fuel filters on Fords, not bleed them correct, crank it, and then if he does it 2 or 3 times, the car decides, I'm not starting this car because it's not going to start. So it's interesting that that's back. Okay, now I'm thinking our attack is going to be after that fault. Now, I don't know what's going to... Yeah, it doesn't... Take this down again. So the button, I can see lights out there. You can see them on the side of my lift. I can see the lights dimming, which I'm assuming is correct. And why am I assuming that's correct? Because if I press the button, I'm assuming it's shutting down the lights in order to give every bit of battery power to the starter system or circuit. I suppose we'll look at a bit of live data first and see where we go from there. I'm 8 minutes in yobbing on here, so I'm going to stop at this point and I'll get in live data and try and make this video a little bit shorter and faster. Okay, on a little bit of live data interrogation, what am I going to be looking at? Brake pedal position, just for the nosiness of it. Press the brake, on, off. Clutch pedal position switch, clutch pedal position switch, clutch pedal position. So these 3 here, I'm going to press the clutch. Clutch pressed, 93%, active, leave it off. So that's just me pressing the clutch, active, then leave it off, inactive, okay? So it's actually seen, you know the way some cars, they won't operate the starter motor unless you press the clutch. So that's relatively happy. So key position for start indicated. We're going to maybe press the clutch again, and then where's this button here? I'm going to press the button. So I'm going to be looking at that there just to see what happens. On. So my button is pressed. I'm on the on. Leave it off. It's gone off. Pressed again. Off. Okay, so that's working. What I did notice here is gear position. Park, neutral switch, just in case it had to be in neutral to start. Park, neutral switch, no. But if I put it into gear, that doesn't change, but if I press the clutch again down to the ground, that now changes. Makes sense? Start enable high side, start enable low side, and I don't know what the high and the low side is here on this. I haven't a clue, but we're going to press the clutch again, and I'll press that button and we'll see what happens here. So we can coincide that with me pressing the button and see what happens here. Disabled. Pressed. Not. Pressed. Not. Okay, so we're seeing this all of the time. Okay, whatever that means, I don't know. Maybe this is what we're going to focus on. But I think for now, I'm going to get out and I'm just going to test that relay, as I said, and see if it's good or bad or what. Relay removed, and just that little relay test kit that I actually have sitting around still in the box. Don't use it too much, but here we are going to try it. So connect it to a battery, my booster pack, and then this adapter goes in here. I have to tell it whether it's a 4 or a 5 pin relay. Press and hold for testing. If I press it, that should go green. If it doesn't go green, we have a problem. So I'm going to press. I can feel the relay moving. What we might do is, what would happen then if I, just to show maybe for a cross reference, if I can pull this, if I can get it out without using my second hand up and out of it. Okay, this is definitely making for a waste of time on camera. I had to use my belly for it. What happens now if I press it this time? Okay, now it's flashing red. Okay, so we're seeing, now that's not a load test, but it does check the integrity, I suppose, circuit integrity inside the relay itself. That's telling us that our relay is good. So now we're going to get out to the relay, what do we call it, inside in the fuse box, and just see have we got wiring integrity intact out there. Make a little plan and see where we're at. I've taken back out our relay. I have put in this little relay test body in there, and I've reinstated his 2 wires that he had sitting in here just to see that I can do my test, process from here. And when I did do that, and I get back into the car, well, we create the P162F again, and have I the ignition on? I have. So now she's doing that long crank again, just when I'm pressing his button in here. Okay, so at this point in time, it'll crank from his button but won't start, and he did say that you need to do this relatively fast or something. He was talking about this 3-second crack, which I didn't see a minute ago, but here we are at this point. So I'm going to try, maybe see, is there any hot functions or serviceable bits for this thing that I can find in here for, long crank restart or any of that crack. Okay, I can see nothing in there. Into service the powertrain. On. What the heck? My ignition get off not. Keep alive memory, service functions. We'll get in there and just have a look and see. Powertrain control module, misfire, transition control module, relearn vehicle data. We'll just get in here and just see what happens. Reset. Maybe you don't want to be looking at this. Reset powertrain control module, learned values. I don't see anything to do with starter motor in there anyway. Turbocharger variable vanes, powertrain, PCM, central car configuration update. Maybe. Fuel system. Right. Where else will I go? This fire monitor, no. Learn vehicle data. Go to there. I thought I saw something a moment ago. Keep alive memory. Maybe we'll do that. Powertrain control module. We'll do that just for the crack and see what happens. Will that make this thing come back to life? Oh, the reset of the camera was unsuccessful. Okay. All right, so that's maybe because we fault codes in there or something. But anyway, here's where we're at this point in time. I'm going to get out and do a little bit of testing out here and just see where we're at out here. I'm just checking on our control side. So I have a test light on battery positive here. Onto ground, she lights. I'm going in. Have I got a ground on that side? Okay, I don't have a ground on that side. I'm going to go in the other side to see if I have a ground Again, just for test purposes here, I don't have a ground, do I? No, I don't have a ground on that side either. I'm going to look for a live at some of them, because this is going to be, the control sides are going to have to be switched as well. So we're going to have a power and a ground on some side. No, and I've no live or ground on either side of my control in here. So I might try and get in. I actually might get a scope and try and see what's happening at both of those while I press the button inside. I'm here this evening, again, getting dark, single-handed, so I could do with someone pressing the button in there, but I don't have anyone right now. So maybe I'll put a scope on there so I can see a trace of what's happening in there while I press the start button inside. Am I short of a power? Am I short of a ground? And then we might get a look at the wiring. Okay, scope in, connected on just with a crocodile clip here and here. And what I'm carrying, where'd I go? What I'm carrying in there, as you can actually probably see in here, is about a 3 volts. So there's on the green channel, I have 2 volts, 4 volts. I'm carrying about 3 volts on both the yellow and the green trace. Okay, so right now we have a bias voltage of about 3 volts in both of them. It's going to run out. I have it on a 20-second time. Me pressing the button. And we'll just see what we see out here. I didn't see any change. Okay, so maybe I could do this maybe a bit better, could I? If I could see it, it might be a little bit easier for me. I'm just going to clean up my wiring. This is not great for recording purposes now, to be honest with you, the way I'm doing this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Look, we'll maybe get it there. I can actually see it now versus not. So we're looking in here. I'm going to press my button. No change actually coming from the button out to there. So I'm going to get in. I've no current. I'm going to get a look at a wiring diagram and make a bit of a kind of a methodical approach to this, an informed methodical approach rather than just guessing where I'm at this point in time. We'll get a bit of information and we'll go forward from there. Onto the wiring diagram, lads. This is 1.5 TDCI. There's our starter motor. We followed the wiring up and up and up. And in there is our starter motor relay K4. We know that that circuit there is intact because that's the load side, pin 3 and pin 5. Then we have 1 and 2 here are for control. So that wire goes up around blue and grey. The other one, the yellow one, comes straight down. So if you're looking at both of those wires, that one and that one, they head over, down here, down and into our engine ECU. So pin A52 and A21 in at our engine ECU are where we are getting control for our starter, from our starter relay. But is there something external causing this, or do we need to pinpoint if these wires are intact? I'm going to think about it for a moment. Back out to the car. At least we know what we're looking for now. We have neither a ground nor a power at any of these at this point in time. We have this 3 volts that we're seeing on both wires. Is that kind of proving us that we have both wires intact and it's some kind of control from that engine ECU is not happy to actually power that starter motor relay? Bit of thinking needs to go on here for a second, and I get out to the car and ponder for a moment. Kind of changing my course of action. I'm going to diagnose Dan TSBs, and I'm aware this is a 2009 to 16 2-litre TDCI, but the actual start cranking time exceeded. It comes up, as they said there, if you change fuel filters and don't bleed them, 162F starter motor maximum crank time exceeded. And what it's elaborating there is on potentially a fuel heater. In here they can say connectors can burn out. We'll take a look at that in a moment. But when I scroll down, it's simply telling us to do, if no components are found faulty, it's possible to delete the fault by disconnecting the battery for 15 to 30 seconds, a battery reset. And then down here it's saying leave the car locked for 30 minutes. For 30 minutes more, the battery connected and doors and bonnet closed. If necessary, see bulletin 5395 regarding this fault. So maybe I got to look at that fuel sensor, a fuel heater connections, and if not, then I might do a battery reset. As I said, disconnect it, and we generally connect the battery positive to the battery negative, which does a battery reset. We reconnect it, we might lock it once it's reconnected overnight for 30 minutes and just see, can we get rid of that one fault code, because that, what was it there? P162F, starter motor maximum crank time exceeded, that we're not getting rid of at this point in time. So we might get rid of that first. I have looked at the control wires, both of them, as we said there, both of them were carrying about 3 volts. Disconnected the relay and then just checked with the scope, and I have 4 volts on one, 2 on the other. So that's kind of giving me some kind of bias voltage down there. So I'm probably presuming that both wires are intact. And thereafter, I'm thinking that maybe we need to get rid of that fault. And then once the car is acting as it should do, see what happens. So I might do this, close it up, head away home, have a look in the morning and just see what happens. That's where I'm thinking right now. So I'm going to do that. What it's telling us here on Diagnose Dan, and we'll just see there. Okay guys, I have done a battery reset on it. So I've disconnected the battery, run a jumper cable, which is just down there, a little yellow one, from battery positive to the ground, and reconnected the battery, locked the car for 30 minutes. I was going to go away, but I got sidetracked. The chap called in for me to look at the window regulator. So the car was locked, the bonnet closed, as Diagnosed Dan said, for 30 minutes or so while I was on the other car. But with the hotel, I still had my P162F starter motor disabled, cranking time too long. So I cannot get rid of that fault code. There's someone probably screaming down the phone or on the screen saying, oh, you only do blah, blah, blah. But I am not aware of what I have to do here. I have gone in here for a look at Diagnose, and it gives me silly stuff. I swapped onto the actual snap-on. It's giving me replace fuel injectors and blah, blah, blah. So it's only giving me information on the extended crank time. So I'm not getting any good of that. So I need to get rid of that P162F fault here. However I'm going to do it, I do not know at this point in time. So that is the problem. Need to get rid of that. I think maybe we'll go back and we'll clear all vehicle codes again. I've been in here. We'll clear them again for crack. I've been in here looking at some, resets and stuff on this. Sometimes the Zeus can be good on an American brand with an American scan tool. They can be just familiar on this stuff. So I'm clearing faults. This fault is going to come back. That I'm aware of. But I think I might do a couple of resets then. I might, any kind of a relearn that I can do on the vehicle, I'm going to do. And we'll just see what happens. I've been in here on resets and relearns engine. So maybe I'm going to do a few bits like replace alternator. What else are we going to see in here that we might see? Maybe relearn crankshaft position. I don't know whether that's going to do anything. Probably not. But there's not a whole lot in here that's actually making me or draw me in to what I need to do here. I'm going to do a couple of resets, just see what I come up with and see, can I get rid of this fault. I've done every kind of a relearn I can do on this thing, and yet that will not go away. Engine crank time too long. What the heck is going on here? Time to figure out this thing. I'm getting a bit semi-frustrated with this, if that makes sense. Maybe some of you know about it, but I don't. I'm going to go home and sleep on this thing and see what I figure out in the morning. Okay guys, I have decided to go and try remote assistance from RADE, R-A-D-E. I have their, what will we call it? Equipment, etc. connected via an Ethernet cable onto our internet, and I think I just got cut off there. I have a remote assistant looking at this thing at this point in time, battery maintainer sitting on it, and it's out here. So look, hopefully we'll be able to resolve something. This is on the pretext that Texa or Delphi, OE equipment is going to be able to do a reset on this thing. What I've gotten from the customer was one day it decided to kick its heels, wouldn't start. Then it went to the garage, then they put in a starter in it, then they put in a battery in it, and it hasn't come right since. So I don't know whether this is an actual fault. I believe from everything we've seen and done, our button is working and all our gear, clutch, position sensors, all that kind of stuff is working. So hopefully they can do some kind of a reset on this thing and make it work. And it's not getting that long extended time, cranking time. Maybe I'm being weary. Also, I do know there's a bulletin about the phonic wheel on the actual timing belt that does sometimes create rumpus. But then from live data on scan tools, my engine speed is looking nice. I didn't scope the crank sensor, but I'm presuming that that's not the problem. And I don't want to go in there and do, pull off a belt to change this thing on the off chance that it's not going to work. I don't know. Fingers crossed the lads will sort something. Okay, guys, our pass through, what we call it, gamble with raid. Anyway, sorry about the sun shining there. Nice to see it coming, but not very good for a screen. Didn't work. We still left with our 162F. Starter motor disabled. Engine crank time too long. What have he done? He went in, he done a couple of resets, a couple of checks. I had to give him a lot of information via messaging or whatever you want to call it on the raid setup. After that, then he came back to me and said, look, the last time they've encountered this was basically control module configuration and a software update on the engine or powertrain control module. Do I have authorization, he said, to go and do this? And I said, yes, of course. So he went along, had to do a couple of bits and pieces, ignition on and ignition off, blah, 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 battery support on it, all that kind of stuff. When I had that done, he came back to me after about 30 or 40 minutes and we tried it again. Same fault. Wouldn't go away, won't go away. The man that was working on it then changed from one chap called Colin to Eamon is the lad's name. And then Eamon went at it as well, trying to see could he configure something. Didn't work. He then came back with, he's seen this before and spoken to a Ford tech. And the Ford tech, he said it's engine ECU. So it's now deemed as needing an engine ECU. So unfortunately, this one is not a fix at this stage anyway. But I'm going to close it up now because I think I could have about 30 minutes or more of recording going on here for nothing, only foostern and messing. What I will say, and ye would probably be aware of this, at least lads in the trade, every step that I made was in communication with the owner, and I got authorization for anything that I was going to do before I done it. So the long and short of it is, every step I made, I got authorized. He authorized it. It didn't work. I did also tell him the variables that it might not guarantee it, because they said that to me. This may not guarantee it. But without even cranking the car over. So when we went back in after the software update was done, just turn on the ignition, press the button. It didn't work. Engine never rotated, but yet I had the, what do I call it? Engine crank time too long fault. So from that, this is where we're going. We're calling it engine ECU. We're going to, hopefully in the new year, the lad that owns this, after doing his switches and stuff, is an engineer of sorts. So he said that he'd be able to either source an engine ECU or maybe send our one off to be repaired if needed. This is what we're maybe thinking. So he said he's going to take care of that. I have to get my eyes or visual a part number on the engine ECU. But yeah, I'm still very wary of our tire pressure light that's on intermittently. I have seen an airbag light come on. Also, something that I'm after just seeing while I was in the car before we done the software update. I didn't see it primarily, but I can see that our ambient air temperature is -40. To be honest with you, in a perfect world, what I'd like to do, I'd like to get these issues resolved. Tire pressure sensors, ambient air pressure, and see where that brings us. I know it may not do anything for us, but who knows the variables? You know, I have been looking at all data, and there is some kind of a sense circuit on the start-stop system or starter motor system, and I just couldn't make sense of it, to be honest with you, if I tell you the truth. The redrawn diagrams on Autodata are far easier for me to understand. Sometimes on the all data, they're OE drawings and they're a little bit harder to figure out, and I'm not very, very familiar with them. I'll understand them, but when I get into details and variables, I'm kind of get a little bit... So, anyway, for this one, guys, we're going to close it up. Hopefully, fingers crossed, if we can cross them, we'll get a part 2 out of this. I don't know what he's doing any of these bits, but I would like to get them bits done before we go after an engine ECU. But then, I don't know, he wants to go and get his engine ECU sorted. So look, maybe we'll go with that and see where we end up, okay? So guys, yeah, please like and subscribe for this one, and I hope you got some bit of entertainment at least, because it wasn't anyway informative. But a 162F start motor disabled due to engine crank time. I haven't fixed it this stage. Hopefully we'll get to fix it. Guys, like, subscribe, and talk to you all next cartoon. Peter Kennedy, signing out. See you later, guys. A little bit of bonus footage on this Kuga, lads, before I close it up. I was trying to get a part number for the owner to try and source either an ECU or something, but he needs a part number off it. I go in here, look, I was able to take out these bolts with a flat screwdriver because someone has been in here with an angle grinder before me, putting a cut mark across. Self-tapper stuck up the top and big load of sealer in here. So the long and short of it is, I think we're on the right track because someone was in here messing. Anyway, guys, talk to you soon.